settle for boring. Where you can feast with the nectar of the gods. You'll always have a seat at Norse Hall.
Welcome everybody to Top Dog Coverage, where you can find us with some of the greatest football news, football scouting, football games, football coverage, football. That's where we're at.
Just all ball, 24/7.
All ball, 24/7. And if you guys want to find us, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe button, swipe up on Spotify, Apple, leave a comment, hit the 5 stars, follow us, subscribe to us, hit the likes, hit the subscribes. This is what we're here for. We're here for ball talk and nothing else. So it's been interesting. OTAs have started, and slowly but surely it's starting to end already. Camps are coming in, and before you know it, we're going to be here.
Yeah, I think we're only a few weeks, maybe a month away from training camps. Like this, it's coming here fast and furious, brother.
Absolutely, it is, and that's the thing. People are sleeping. Before you know it, you got all your draft trades, your draft picks in for your dynasties and your fantasy footballs and all this other stuff. And you know.
Speaking of that, didn't you have a pretty good rookie draft the other day?
I had a decent one.
Decent one.
A little bitter. Not gonna lie.
Okay, yeah. I mean, let's air some grievances. What's up? What are you bitter about?
Well, actually, you know, before we air some grievances, let's get a third party in the mix that has nothing to do with situation said. Okay?
Such dynasty.
Yeah, such dynasty. Let's bring in. He's been on the show a couple times. Avid football watcher. Works for.
NFL Films.
I'm blanking, man. Long day.
It's a long week.
A big, go Pack Go guy. So let's bring him in. Flint Given. How you doing, Flint?
Doing great. How are you guys?
Doing great, man. Welcome back.
I'd like to say that I'm doing good, Flint, but I got a little something to get off the chest, to be honest.
His soapbox is starting. Here we
go. Look,
give him the floor. Let's let him.
I got to vent. I got to let this out. And from somebody who is not attached to the situation, partially my fault. Okay, I was asked by somebody very, very close to,
It's not me, for the record. It's not.
No,
me.
It's not. It's not. I would call you out in a heartbeat. So he wanted some information. Oh, I haven't really followed this and that. Blah blah blah. It's our first dynasty, first draft coming in for rookie drafts. And he wanted to know a couple running backs, and I gave him a little bit of information. And he said, well, who are you taking? And I was like, you know what? Whatever, you know what I mean? And I gave him whomever I was thinking about. And he sniped both of them in the first round. Both of them.
Just pull the rug out right from underneath.
Yeah, I traded up for the number 1. I got Genty, okay? And that's fine. That's cool. And then... But I was expecting one of those two guys to be there, which one of them I believe was going to be there if I didn't say anything.
Probably, yeah.
And what are your opinions on that, Flint?
I mean, I guess the first issue, obviously,
Yeah.
It's hard. It's when you say who you want, it just, unless, it's your pick or whatever, or they have no way to trade up, but at that point,
it's open season on them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it could turn out you got the better player or the better player in the better situation, or you don't know. I mean, it's how it is. It could change. You could be the one who turned out, with the better player.
It's a possibility. From now on, though, if anybody wants Dynasty and fantasy football information, you go to topdogcoverage.com, and we're at least getting a listen out of you. We're getting views out of you from this point on. You're not sniping me without
no more free advice.
No, nothing free, dude. Nothing free at all.
You gotta wait till the fantasy episode.
Yep. Scott Adkins would have something to say about this.
Yes, he would.
Speaking about things to talk about, there is some football news. You guys want to jump into some football news?
Let's knock it out. Let's do it.
All right. So before we go in there, let's thank our sponsors and our FGM label for making the music for this episode. If you guys want some dope beats and some dope, intro music, outro music, you go to FGM label on Instagram. And let me tell you, some of the best projects that I'm doing involve FGM label. They have nothing but banger after banger after banger. And I have a few tracks myself that I'm getting done with and projects that are finishing up. So FGM label.
Dirty in the booth?
We'll see. Not gonna say no. That's for sure. And then shout outs to Norse-Hall.com. So Norse Hall, that's where you can get your mead. Again, if anybody has not had any mead before, it is a honey alcohol or a honey wine that apparently tastes absolutely delicious, and their hot sauce based out of West Virginia, which is now being pushed. Can I say by Budweiser. So, one of the biggest and getting pushed faster and faster. So if you ain't on the Norse Hall train by now, you don't want to see it go by before it gets too big. Go get your Norse Hall mead. Go get your Norse Hall hot sauce. Get them now while they're still in a really, really, really good price range. Let's start off with some information. What do you say?
Need the info.
On some NFL news. Let's go after it, baby. Steelers tight end Donald Parham likely out for the season after a torn Achilles. What do you know about this, Flint?
Yeah, so I mean, he most likely was going to be the fourth tight end on their depth chart, which at that point, that's iffy if you're going to make the team or not.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's had injury history, and I think 2 years ago might have been his best year, just off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
He had some injuries last year as well. But, again, him and Hayward are kind of bound for the third spot. I know there's another undrafted guy that I guess, has a chance of being the third tight end. They're still looking for a fullback or another tight end in that, room. How is the Freiermuth? Is their receiving tight end? They have Washington as their blocking tight end. So they're probably going to play, a lot 2-3 tight ends, especially, obviously the Jonnu Smith news is coming out. I don't know if you're going to go to that next or soon, but
yeah. Well, let's jump to that real quick since we're in the same thing. It's Jonnu Smith is kind of like the big name, and there's a lot of talks about the Pittsburgh Steelers possibly wanting him, which I can see. He's a great player. He gets open all the time. He makes, this is also a guy that came in correct when Waddle was actually not doing as much as people thought. He had kind of dropping balls a little bit during the season, but Jonnu Smith always sat in that pocket and kind of picked up all the receptions, first down when they couldn't move the ball or when they were catching up in games. It could be something that they could trade for. I don't think it's going to be anything really heavy, but Jonnu Smith is a very, very good player in fantasy football. If you want to talk about that, he can get actually drafted later on in rounds, to be honest. But it's a rumor.
And is that due to the Arthur Smith connection since he's the OC up there?
I'm guessing it is,
because he coached him at Tennessee, Atlanta.
Yeah, those two teams. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably his guy.
Is the coach following the player, or is the player following the coach?
Maybe a little bit of both.
I think the player's probably following the coach because, obviously you were in Tennessee together, and then you signed him when he was Atlanta head coach.
Yeah.
Now he's the Steelers head coach.
It'd be really hilarious if they absolutely did not like each other at all, and he just kept getting forced to be on his team.
You just kind of kept them.
You never know.
There.
Yeah, you never know.
No, you don't. Let's move on to the Saints officially placed Derek Carr on reserved retired list. C-Dub, what do you got on that?
Yeah, man. So I believe this was a very rejoiceful day for all Saints fans. Unfortunately, you never want to see a player get hurt or be forced into retirement, but Saints fans, they feel a certain type of way about Mr. Carr, especially with his YouTube videos going on and his shoulder injury and all that stuff. So a lot of people celebrated, and what happened the same exact day? They gave his number away. They gave it to the defensive back Kool-Aid McKinstry, who is now number 4 for the New Orleans Saints.
There you go. There you go.
The ink wasn't even dry on the paperwork before they gave the number out. So that tells you how they feel about him.
Now for nothing, I'm happy that you got this out of the way, done, good, you know what I mean, finito, and
we get to have some fun in quarterback competition with, Shuck and Rattler. It's not the most exciting quarterback room, but damn, it's going to be fun.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, it is. I'm glad you got sniped in fantasy.
Oh, wow. As fast as that ink dried, as fast as you waited to burn me on that. Wow. Okay. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin is not on the hot seat. Does anybody really think that he was? I don't like, in my opinion, I don't see how you could continuously say, like, you have a lot of people that are saying he's on the hot seat, but the guy always has over 500 record. He always has. Is a guy like that always, is it him or is it the GM? Like, what are we talking about? Who are you going to have to replace Tomlin?
I think for me personally, I don't think he was ever on the hot seat, but they do have to come up with a plan to figure out the quarterback position, because you can't keep going in and each year and trying to rely on that aging defense. You trade for Metcalf, but you sign Rudolph to be the starting quarterback. I know this Aaron Rodgers thing is still floating out there, whatever, but that's who you're really banking on to just kind of save your season and be the guy. They have to come up with a plan. There has to be some sort of meeting behind closed doors on, hey, we need a guy at the future position. They took Will Howard in middle of the rounds, so maybe is he the guy that can develop? I don't know, but I think that's the biggest knock on Tomlin right now.
Yeah. We'll move on to the Rams made an offer for the Panthers' number 8 pick. Carolina eyed Jalen Walker as backup plan. So the Rams trying to move up to the number 8.
Yeah, I think there's a video circling around that too. I haven't got a chance to watch it. You know anything about that, Flint?
I mean, I haven't seen what you're referring to, but I mean, like, ultimately they traded back. So unless like there's a particular player they probably wanted, I don't know if you know who it would have been. I guess Jalen Walker. You're saying, is that what you're?
Well, it says that they made an offer for the number 8 pick. Carolina was eyeing Jalen Walker as the backup plan in case they, I guess, didn't get.
Maybe the Rams were trying to move up for a tight end, since that was before they all went,
took
right?
one second round Ferguson, right?
Yeah. And they were trying to move up for Bowers last year, so that's
they could be looking. They could definitely be looking for that one guy, that playmaker. Let's go to the Steelers. TJ Watt expected to sign the extension before week 1. TJ Watt, I think, deserves any amount of money you want to give this guy.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's just been phenomenal through, it doesn't matter who comes out of that family. They're dominating on the field, and I hope it happens. I really do. I hope they continue to pay this man until this man just has nothing left in the tank.
Deadlines per action, so.
Yeah. Running back J.K. Dobbins to visit the Broncos. This is interesting. I like this. I think that even though J.K. Dobbins, what were they saying after like 4 or 5 games last year? Wasn't
running out of juice.
Yeah, it was running out of battery there. I think if he's on a Sean Payton offense, even though there's a bunch of people, you have, R.J. Harvey, McLaughlin, and Estime.
Mm-hmm.
You bring J.K. Dobbins in there, that's going to be a really, really tough running back room. And I can see J.K. Dobbins, if he goes there, not starting, but say they just build him up to make sure that he has that, that cardio going into the season rather than, there is still a lot of tread left on the tire with this kid. It's weird because he hasn't really been utilized. He's been hurt year one, hurt year two. And,
He's had a lot of major injuries.
He has. And that's the thing. It's like, and then he got tired after a certain amount of time last year. And it's like, okay, he does have a lot of tread, but that doesn't mean the engine's running well. You know what I'm saying?
Did he get tired? I thought he got another injury at the end of the year.
He probably did. I mean,
I don't know about this tired thing. What are you talking about? He's not Anthony Richardson.
You should never bring up such a name. You should never bring up such a name.
You're the one to bring it up that he got tired. I'm confused. I never heard anything like
that.
Yeah,
they said that he was running out of gas and he didn't look like himself to be explosive anymore after like week 5. And
after the 3 Achilles injuries or the couple patella tendon tears or whatever.
I guess, but I mean,
it's hard to have some juice at that. After
the doctors cleared you, didn't they?
But know. It's usually the year after.
And then he had 2 injuries, so is it the year?
So I think we're gonna have to wait until 2027 until he's fully healthy. Maybe 2028. I don't know. I think it's a decent flyer. Add some more. Add a veteran to that running back room.
Yeah, if you need him,
young guys.
If you need him to do anything, you know what I mean. Like he can step in and fill in for like a game or something like that. It's not
at least a drive.
Yeah,
before it gets tired.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, he can do a full game, and he's a monster. But apparently, a full season is out of the question.
It's tough.
We'll move on to the Philadelphia Eagles have traded the edge rusher Bryce Huff to the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for a 2026 mid-round draft pick. So Robert Saleh loves guys that know his system, and that's basically what he's doing. He's turning the San Francisco 49ers into the San Francisco Jets. And on
the defensive side, at least, right?
Only on the defensive side. Yeah. But each week, it just seems like they're picking up different and more people that know the system that can translate it over to the new people coming in, and they drafted a lot of people on the defense over there in San Francisco. So I think San Francisco will have I said it before, but I think they're going to have a better defense than people think, even though the entire defense was almost gutted and turned inside out. But they're adding pieces to where they already know where they're supposed to be, and they're making trades, and they're making sure that it happens for them. So,
and I think one thing we forgot to cover last week is they already got the Brock Purdy deal done.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to give them enough flexibility to continue to make moves to improve that defense and put a team around him.
Yeah,
because now that you got the big deal out of the way, they can manipulate the cap and do whatever they need to.
This is a true story, sir. So, with that being said, as we went through last year, we went through the NFC East, and today we will go through the NFC North, starting with the Chicago Bears. Let's go with the Chicago...
Chi-Town. Chi-Town.
Yeah. Let's go with the Chicago Bears. We'll go...
Are they the team coming in with the absolute most hype this year? Or no? Or do I got that wrong?
I think you might be honest.
They had hype last year, I feel, a little bit.
Right? You feel like they had more hype last year?
Well, I don't know if it's more or less, but...
since they got Ben Johnson, I just think
there's more hope with that coaching staff, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Fan base, and then what they did, so...
For sure.
I mean, we'll start from the bottom here, and we will go over a couple things. We'll start with the GM, Ryan Poles, and head coach Ben Johnson coming from the Lions. The offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, and defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen. on your side there, buddy. And then special teams, Richard Hightower. Richard Hightower, wasn't he a player?
Probably. I think you're the running back, right? Is that what you're thinking of?
Wasn't he on the Redskins?
Yeah, he was also on the Saints too.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, but was he? This Richard Hightower played at the University of Texas Austin.
Okay.
Looks like
you might think it's Tim Hightower though.
That's it. Yeah, that's who he's.
Oh.
Yeah, remember I think he played with the Saints, right? I know he's a Cardinal.
He did. Yeah.
I'm always thinking of Hightower from Police Academy. Dub, do you know Police Academy?
I mean, I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but
see, he throws out these old movie references like we're supposed to know it.
Wow. Yo, something's got to give here, gentlemen. Okay, like I can't be.
You didn't give me the homework on what movies to watch before this.
I didn't think that you wouldn't have known what Police Academy is.
I know police go to the academy to graduate and get their little badgy thing and all that.
I feel so alone right now.
Well, yeah.
I'm so lonely. All right, whatever. You know what? I'll eat this. The real people listening right now understand the reference. So, anyway, we'll move on to special teams real quick, okay? And we'll go into the special teams. The punter, actually, we'll start with the kick returner and punt returner. It was Devin Duvernay from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And you got a couple backups there that are coming in for camp and seeing what's going on their third and their fourth. Josh Blackwell, Tyler Scott.
Duvernay's legit, though. Duvernay's a really good returner.
He is. Absolutely.
University of Texas alum.
And then you got Travis Homer from Seattle, who was in the running back squad over there for a while.
Yeah,
and Josh Blackwell. So it's, they'll find a couple of things to go on, and you got your kicker over there, Cairo Santos. And then Torrey Taylor, the holder. And
Scott Daly is the long snapper.
Yeah, snapper. Shout out to
you gotta have long snapper love.
Yeah, you gotta have that long snapper love. But let's dig right into the defense there. You wanna do the defense, Flint?
Yeah, just go position by position pretty much.
Yeah, we'll go.
Yeah, we'll start with let's do the defensive line and then we'll talk a little bit about them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Montez Sweat is probably the difference maker, the best player on that line. I know Grady Jarrett at one time was pretty good. I wouldn't say he's that really anymore. He's solid.
A little bit
I like him over the guys they drafted in the last few years, like Dexter and who else? Zach Pickens. I think they drafted a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're better than previous years, like Grady Jarrett. They have depth too. They drafted Turner. Andrew Billings is a depth piece. And I think even Austin Booker. I think was he a second rounder last year? He was in the top, like either day one or day two or a fourth round pick or something like that.
I think he was like the first pick of the fourth round or the fifth round, something like that. Yeah, because they traded up to get him.
Yeah, they're saying fifth round. Oh yeah, he's the fifth round. Okay. I thought he would be higher. I liked him a little bit more than that, but I like the room. I don't think it's like a top 10 room, but they have good pass rushers and they have depth and they can rotate. Like I don't know how you guys feeling on it, but I think it's a solid to good room. Probably where I would put it.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that for sure. I do like the signings. I like them bringing in Jarrett, that veteran, longtime Atlanta Falcon. He had to get out of there. Atlanta sucks. So, and then also them signing the Indianapolis edge rusher, Deo. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name.
Odeyingbo. I can't.
Odeyingbo.
Yeah. So I think he gives them some inside-outside flexibility as well. So I like what they did with the room. I think it's got a lot of potential. It just, how much is it going to shake out this year, especially with how tough that division is?
Does it sound like I know how to say that name?
Yeah, well, you did.
You fake it till you make it. Yeah,
I said it with confidence, right? Like
that's
you guys
it.
really
thought that.
Yeah. I have no idea what that is. But I actually think it's Ade Yingbo or Ode Yingbo.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bada boom, bada bing.
Deo. Ade Yingbo. All right, let's move on to the linebackers, cornerbacks there.
Yeah, let's do it.
I can do linebackers if you want.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, Edwards and Edmonds, they've signed a couple years ago together, and they've been pretty good. I think Edmonds is out of the two is probably a little bit more disappointing because I think they also paid him more money, if I remember. But Edwards has been pretty good. Obviously, you don't want probably Edwards matching up against like the top like running backs or tight ends necessarily, but
yeah, better run defender, right?
Yeah, I mean he's still a good coverage. Like he's smart and all. He's just I don't think he has the speed to stay with people.
Yeah.
You know, like if he gets in those matchups, I remember 2 years ago, week 1, the Packers had Aaron Jones on him on a 4th down. He's man to man. It's a little unfair. They're not going to ask him to do that a ton. But you know Dennis Allen. I mean, he's a lot of man coverage.
Yep.
Mostly for the corners, but you know what I mean. But it's a pretty good group. I mean, just those two, and I think it was a Hippolyte, if you say that's how you say it. They drafted him this year as depth. You know, it's probably mostly special teams unless one of those guys gets hurt. But I think that's a pretty good room. You know, compared to the league.
Yeah, 2 really good starters and like some question marks at the depth. After that, it feels like.
Yeah, I like the fact that these guys are coming from. I mean, I know they're already here. It's not like they were signed this year, but I like T.J. Edwards from Philly, Buffalo. These are really good organizations that people have come from, and then they got a little bit of they got a little depth in Ruben Hippolyte, or is that how you say his name?
I think that's how you say it.
Hippolyte in second. You know what I mean? So, and I like that they drafted everything in the 2nd, 4th, and 5th. These are really good. Again, we've talked about the depth in this draft. So I think it's pretty good going, defensive tackle and, your linebacker, then your corner, because I'm still a fan. You got Tyreek Stevens there, and then going back to on your left side, and then your right side, you got Jalen Johnson. I like these secondaries, to be honest.
It's really good corner.
Yeah. Absolutely. And they were not afraid to go after Za Frazier in the 5th round, which, look, it's not like a deep draft for like corners and everything, but like they're setting it up for whatever they already have, and then they're getting their depth ready for Ben Johnson so he can do this thing the right way. But I think that secondary with the Jaquan Brisker, I'm still a Brisker fan, man. Brisker and Bayard. I really like that backfield over there.
Yeah, I think Kyler Gordon's a really great nickel, too. I think he's going to come into his own this year. I think he played well last year, but I think he could really take a big step forward this year.
Yeah, there's they're going to solidify things here with depth, and they have potential to, with the right scheme, do some real. I don't want to say, like you said, not like a top 10. But maybe middle of the field type of defense, enough to win some games if that offense can get on the right page.
Yeah, and I think Dennis Allen gives them that option too. I mean, he's a much better coordinator than head coach, and he's still one of the better defensive minds in the league. His specialty is the secondary, so I think they're really going to take that big step forward this year.
Yeah, and speaking of that, let's go into the offense. CW, you want to lead us with that?
Sure. So I'll start with the receiver room. So they have DJ Moore returning, Rome Odunze, 1st-round pick from last year, and they drafted Luther Burden III in the 2nd round this year. The depth pieces, you're looking at Devin Duvernay, Tyler Scott, who they took in the 4th round a few years ago, Olamide Zaccheaus from Washington.
He's sneaky good.
He is. He played really well last year. He was a good weapon for Jane Daniels. So it'll be interesting to see him play in that slot role for Chicago. Then they got some flyers on Miles Boykin, Samori Torrey, Maurice Alexander, and some undrafted guys. J.P. Richardson from TCU, really sure-handed guy. Not a great athlete, but he can catch for sure. Ja'Day Walker, and then John Jackson.
Yeah, they you were big on Luther Bird in the third. I was a big Roma Dunze fan last year, and DJ Moore is there. It's just they have they have a lot of depth here with their wide receivers, and they can move people around. They can scheme things well, and the one thing that I'm going to move on to right now is the fact that they significantly upgraded this offensive line.
Oh yeah,
and I love it. So they got Braxton Jones on your left side, along with Ozzie Trapillo, the second round pick, and then not only that, you go from left guard Joe Tooney from Kansas City, and then you draft another guy in the sixth round, Luke Newman. So you're keeping your backups here, and then you sign from Atlanta Drew Dahlman, a center, and you already got really good backup and bodies out of Doug Kramer Jr. And then you got some street signings and stuff like that. So you have some camp bodies back there, and then your right guard Jonah Jackson from the Los Angeles Rams as your right guard, and then you got a guy from Buffalo. Again, I like these places where these guys come from: Buffalo, Philadelphia, all the, you know what I mean. These are places that know how to be part of a team with Ryan Bates as a tackle. Sorry, not a tackle depth, as a guard depth, and then you have Darnell Wright on your right tackle with Kieran Amegad.
Amagashi.
Yes.
Amagashi.
Arigato. And it's just, I love this line right now.
And it happened so quick, right?
It did.
As soon as Ben Johnson got there, he's like, you know what? Let's upgrade the offensive line. Let's go trade whatever we need to. Let's upgrade this thing.
Yeah, and they went balls to the wall. It gives them the opportunity to compete. It really does, especially when we're hearing rumors that Caleb Williams was in a film room by himself last year, and it's like what is happening?
Yeah, but who hasn't been in a film room by themselves?
I'm pretty sure a lot of people, but
also we're not NFL quarterbacks either,
and we're also not a first round pick.
What I love the fact is they invested in the interior offensive line, right? Williams is only maybe 6'1", so you have to. It's the Drew Brees effect, right? You have to invest in your guards and your center to make sure that they can open that pocket so you can see the throwing lanes. I love the moves that they did for the offensive line.
And that kind of goes right into quarterback, running back, and tight ends. Flint, you want to run us with that?
Yeah, I mean, let's just start with the running back. Like, it's a pretty good room.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously they have Swift and Johnson, who are probably giving them the guys there. Obviously, Monangai from Rutgers.
I like Monangai.
Yeah, I like him too. I don't know how likely he is to see the field this year, just with Johnson.
More of a special teams guy this year, for sure.
Yeah, and like Travis Homer, I mean, he's mostly probably special teams at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's a good room. I'm a little lower on Swift as just a player, but he's a good receiving back. Has some speed. Obviously didn't have a great line last year, so it wasn't like the Eagles the year before he was on.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of holes and stuff. So I'm sure he'll have a better statistical year. And then tight end, obviously, it's some projection, but it's a pretty good, you would say, tight end room with Kmet and Leveland. And they're probably going to use a bunch of two tight ends if they're going to do the same thing as what Johnson did, Ben Johnson did with the Lions. So I don't know how many 3 wide receiver sets they'll have. Obviously Burns a rookie and Adunze in the second year. So I would guess it's mostly, a lot of Moore and Adunze on the field with Kmet and Loveland. Yeah. But maybe, Burn has a bigger role than I expect this year, but that's just from my viewpoint. And then Caleb Williams, most people are probably high on him. I still like him. Obviously, I know he took a ton of sacks. There's a lot of problems with, the whole situation. He had multiple play callers last year. Wasn't all on him, but, obviously some was. So I don't know your guys' feeling on that. But
yeah, I think I saw something. I don't know if it was earlier today or I don't know when it was. I think it was in the last week. But out of all of his interceptions last year, 5 of them were on trying to extend plays and throwing a deep pass and double coverage or something like that. So I think a lot of that will get cleaned up because he's still limited turnovers, despite being in a not ideal situation. So I think the sky's the limit. It'll just be how much of that potential can he reach this year? First year with Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. They have certainly an opportunity to go. So to make a difference. Now we'll see how much of that. I don't know how much of the game they're going to bring this year. With everything brand new, and they still have a lot of weapons over there, and they just added a bunch of new weapons. So, all right, who do you guys want to move on to next?
Want to go to the lines just alphabetically? I mean, it's up to you.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Let's do that. Lions.
Detroit.
All right. Started off with the GM, Brad Holmes, head coach, Dan Campbell, new offensive coordinator, or is it new?
Yeah, new offensive coordinator, John Morton.
John Morton.
Offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and new defense coordinator, Kelvin Shepard.
Yeah, and special teams, Dave Phipp.
Yeah,
actually,
he's been in the league a while, so
I think the Jets had John Morton.
Yeah, he did in 2017.
Yeah.
See, there we go.
I knew that name from somewhere.
Yeah.
But let's go to kick return and punt return. We have Craig Reynolds, followed by Khalif Raymond from Tennessee. He's actually been on a couple teams, right?
He's been on the Lions for a little bit now.
Okay.
Feels like.
And then Sione Vaki and Amara St. Brown in case, they need to. And then this is a simple but awesome name, the holder. Jack Fox.
He's the punter.
I would trust him. I don't know why, but if I met him in a room, hey, my name's Jack Fox. I'd be like, yeah, dude, like, can you hold my wallet for a second? I'll be right back. Like, I would just trust him. I have no idea why, but Jack Fox is a very strong name.
Yeah. Okay.
Just in case anybody cared. Shout out to the long snapper.
Hogan
great
Hatton.
Name. Yeah, Hogan Hatton. That's a great name to have.
That's a hoot.
Imagine his nickname was the Hoot. Hagen the Hoot Hatton.
That's great. That is his nickname now. I will forever know him as
Hagen the
Hogan
Hoot Hatton.
The Hoot Hatton.
And then you got Jake Bates and
the UFL sensation. That's
the UFL sensation. Yeah,
just kicking those 60 yards like it was nothing.
Oh God! All right, let's go into this defense, Dub.
All right, I'll start with the defensive line. So you have their superstar pass rusher Aiden Hutchinson coming back. Some depth behind him. You got Josh Pascal, Isaac Ukwu, Mitchell Agood, and Keith Cooper. Mm-hmm. And then at nose tackle, you got DJ Reader, the first rounder Tyleek Williams, Roy Lopez, Broderick Martin, and Pat O'Connor. And then at the defensive tackle position, you got Aleem McNeil, Levi Unzurike, Makai Wingo, Miles Adams, and Chris Smith. And then that other right defensive end, you got Marcus Davenport, Al-Qaeden Muhammad, Ahmed Hassan, something like that. Nate Lyon, and then Raekwon Williams. So I think pretty decent defensive line. I think got some potential. I really do think it all hinges on Hutchinson, how he does in his recovery.
Yeah.
But you were a big Tyleek Williams fan coming out, Brian, weren't you?
Yeah, he had a pretty good size, and he was just. Yeah, I think it's great for them to add up and juice up on that offensive line, even if you do have DJ Reader still there in the nose tackle. It's just they also got another defensive guy in there at Ahmed Hassanin, and like I know he's in the depth, but like all these guys are eventually going to move up, and they have a system that's going to work. And the bigger the bodies, the better it's going to be. And this was the draft to do it in, and they have a really good offensive line that knows how to train or iron sharpens iron with these defensive linemen. So I'm excited to see where he fits in. I actually believe, this is just my personal opinion, but I actually believe Tyleik Williams will become a starter by the end of the year here.
Yeah, no doubt. I think also last year you really saw all the injuries to the defense, so just naturally, I think they're going to be a lot better this year. They can stay healthy.
And can we move on to the linebackers? Flint, you want to do linebackers?
Yeah, could I say one thing about defensive line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say I would add is, I guess the one concern would be, like, if Aiden Hutchinson, let's say he's not 100%, even if he is close to 100, like, you have him and Davenport as your starters, and I know they're going to rotate and stuff, but there's a good chance, with Davenport's history, and who knows with Hutchinson now, like, you're going to have Pascal Muhammad starting or have to play significant snaps. That's my concern with them. Like, defensive tackle wise, they might be best in the league with, you have probably 4 guys you're probably confident in.
Yeah.
And a pretty good run stuffers too.
Yeah.
This is my concern. So I can go on linebackers.
Okay.
I mean, Anzalone, he's been, a solid linebacker for a while. And Jack Campbell, they drafted in the first round. And then you have Derek Barnes in the mix. Like, that's a pretty good 3 linebacker. Even Rodriguez has played a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like, I think they have depth, and I don't think any of them are superstars at this point. I mean, I guess Campbell has some upside to be even better this year. But yeah, I think it's a good group. It's comparable to the Bears. I think I like the Bears starters a little bit more, but this definitely has way more depth. This team, the lines.
I was a big Jack Campbell fan. When just watching him play, you could just tell that he could turn on a dime and do this and do that. Like he followed the ball really, really well, and I just saw him make a lot of plays. He's from Michigan, right?
Jack Campbell?
Was it Iowa? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's Iowa.
Iowa, yeah.
Yeah.
So he, I'll tell you what though, man. When I saw his tape, again, I don't remember where everybody always comes from, but I fell in love with this dude, and I was like, whoever gets him is going to be really, really lucky to have such a linebacker like that. And he's just like, to me, he's that old school hitter. You know what I mean? And he just plays with an absolute motor. But that's my opinion. We're gonna move on to the cornerbacks and safeties, but we'll go with Terrion Arnold and Joseph Kirby, or I'm sorry, I'll get to Joseph
DJ
Kirby.
Reed.
DJ Reed, who signed from the New York Jets over there. And I still think he's got a lot of juice left in the tank. And Amick Robertson. And they got another guy, Avante Maddox, from Philly. So, again, taking away from these big teams that know how to, create players. And let's not forget, all the way in the left side corner behind Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw Jr., you have Rock Ya-Sin. Okay, he's been on a couple different teams, so he's been in a couple different rooms. I think he's not going to be like a starter, but that is really good depth. I think personally, that's my opinion. But you also have Khalil Dorsey behind CJ Reed, and then DJ Reed, and then Stanley Thomas Oliver, who was just, I think he's going to be a body guy here.
That's a made up name for sure.
Yeah, you're not allowed to have like your first name.
Stanley Thomas Oliver.
It should be Oliver Thomas Stanley. That should be his real name, but they just like made everything backwards.
Yeah.
And I can't, like, this guy Ian Kennelly, like they just threw him in there and be like, yo, don't forget about this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I am excited to discuss as well with these corners and the back ends are these safeties. I love Brian Branch. I think he was a dog coming out, and Joseph Kirby getting his contract. I think that's awesome too. They also went after another safety, Dan Jackson, in the 7th round, which is great. And a couple street guys, Lauren Strickland, Eric Hallett. No, nothing like crazy names that I know of personally. Maybe you guys know these names, but they have some really, really good secondary.
Yeah, Dan Jackson was from Georgia, right? Wasn't he part of that Georgia defense the last couple of years?
Was he?
I believe
A seventh rounder. I
Yeah,
lose
he's a
track.
Georgia. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. I mean, it gives you that championship pedigree and that defensive back just to pair with Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. So I like their depth. I think they got a really good secondary.
Yeah, they're if they can get that defense to be exactly what Dan Campbell wanted last year, with another defensive coordinator, which I think I have faith in Dan Campbell allowing him to create exactly what he wanted when everybody was there. And now that a lot of the offensive coordinators and defense coordinators, these guys left, I have a feeling that he can do it again.
Yeah, I like Kelvin Shepard a lot. I mean, he was a former linebacker, so he's going to have that kind of that toughness and that mentality to, make sure he gets the guys in line. So I'm really excited for their defense this year.
Word. Speaking of defense, since it was nice and strong, that allowed their offense to score a lot of points last year. So let's go over to the offensive side. And let's go, Flint, you want to start with the wide receivers?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown's, in the discussion for best slot receiver in the league. He does play a little bit on the outside, but mostly in the slot.
Heard of that
Jameson
guy.
Williams is their deep threat, you could say. And they obviously they use them on reverses and stuff. But, it's a pretty good 1-2 with those guys. I'd say depth-wise, obviously, this is pretty much a similar receiving core to last year with Tim Patrick and Raymond. I know they drafted is it Tesla? Yeah, they drafted Tesla, which I'm not the biggest fan of that, like where they got him. I mean, I could see his value. He can block. He's a bigger, mostly slot receiver. He could play on the outside too. But I mean, I don't know how much he's going to play this year anyway.
Do you not like it as much because of what they gave up?
Yeah, I think it's also maybe you guys thought the third. I think it was third round, right?
It was they gave up 3 third-round picks.
Yeah,
to move up to take Tesla.
They did some last year like that. I think it was Manu, the tackle, rugby guy. I think he was a rugby player. But it wasn't maybe 3 third-round picks, but it was close to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's that combination with where they got him. Like I know some people compare him like Alan Lazard type of prospect or receiver. I know Alan Lazard's undrafted, so it's a little different, but
yeah,
like that's kind of role they're going to probably use him. Tim Patrick, I guess, kind of plays that role right now. So I just see a hard time getting the value out of it, especially with the trade on top of it. But again, he's their 5th receiver or something. I don't know how impactful he'll be this year. But, obviously they have a pretty good first 2 receivers. And then, again, they're going to play a lot of 2 tight ends, you would think. It's going to be a lot of Sam Laporta, Brock Wright blocking. And Dirty knows Kenny Yeboah a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, he's their 3rd tight end right now on their depth chart.
He's actually a really good route runner, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's that whole, not for nothing, that they got more than enough tight ends over there, and they took him relatively early. I don't want to say early, but they took him in free agency, and they also got another wide receiver over there in Malik Taylor, who was actually not too bad, but new regime, so it's like, these are good depth guys, and but I want to move over to the offensive line here in Taylor Decker as left tackle, Christian Mahogany as a left guard, and then their 2nd round pick, Tate Ratledge, and then their right guard, Graham Glasgow, and everybody likes Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell is just an animal.
Did we cover the retirement of Frank Ragnow?
I don't think we did.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that created a huge hole in the middle of their offensive line. Frank Ragnow, one of the best centers in the league, retired at 29. So I think that's what forced Tate Ratledge to move inside to center.
And actually, they just signed Tristan Colon, I think, today.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of see the aftermath of that move. You know, hope for the best for him in retirement. I know he made a post on social media. I think it was his body was kind of just wasn't able to do it this year. So it's
Takes a lot out of you, man.
Yeah, but I think Lions are used to having great players retire young, right?
When you're playing at a high level, I guess so, right? And with that, you got you got some really good depth here. You got another 5th-round pick with your left guard is Miles Frazier, Giovanni Manu, and obviously the signing today with Tristan Colon out of Arizona, and then Coyote Awasika, again from Philly. Okay, these are guys that have been in the trenches, whether in the practice squad or what have you, but they have really good work ethic if they're coming from one of these camps. And then I don't know, I just like this name, Dan Skipper.
He's the elite receiving threat, right?
I think he was. I think he was the guy that had a couple.
That's him.
Yeah.
He's at the 6 offensive linemen usually when they, have them on the field.
When they say he's eligible.
No Skipper slander.
Damn it, he's eligible. Okay.
Yeah, you better recognize.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you guys want to take it from here, go into the quarterback, running back, and tight ends area.
I think we already covered the tight ends, so okay, I'll just do the quarterbacks and running backs. So quarterback, they're returning Jared Goff. They have Hendon Hooker as his backup, and then they signed Kyle Allen from Pittsburgh. And then the running back room, pretty healthy. You got Jamar Gibbs, David Montgomery, Craig Reynolds, Sion Vaki, and a couple undrafted free agents in Kai Robichaud and Anthony Tyus III. So pretty healthy room there. It's a really great 1-2 right there in the running back room.
Yeah, it is. The only thing that I like the Hendon Hooker thing going on here, and I like it because it just kind of solidifies I don't want to say a great name behind him, but they can create him what they want him to be in case something happens to Jared Goff. And he's got a smaller size guy, right? Isn't Hendon Hooker kind of like a skinnier?
He might be. I feel like he's a little bit thicker.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 220. So he just had that bad knee injury when he came out in college.
Yeah, his last year, right?
Yeah.
Who am I thinking then? It's not Hendon Hooker. I'm thinking of somebody else who's really slim.
I think you need a little more details.
Yeah, no, but I'm thinking it's definitely a quarterback slim, and I'm trying to
Marcus Mariota. I don't know.
No, definitely not Marcus Mariota.
Was he on the Lions? Is that?
I can't. I think he was Hooker was on the Browns, right?
No, he's always been on the Lions.
You think it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson?
Yes, Dorian Thomas. Yeah.
He's on the Eagles now.
Yeah.
Going to good teams. Yeah.
But, I like Hendon Hooker coming out. My only concern just because he hasn't played really much.
Yeah.
And other than like garbage time and stuff like that preseason. But I guess the concern we have is they had like Bridgewater come out of retirement. He stepped right as the backup in front of him. So I don't know if that means anything. But that's what I just interpreted like maybe they don't fully trust him to be the backup, but he's again the backup again. He was a backup most of last year. So I really don't know.
Again, I'm really interested to see what this team brings with brand new coordinators, brand new, everything. And I want to see how it progresses and how they can, restart the engines, and if these offense coordinators and defense coordinators can kind of almost start exactly where they left off last year. It's going to be that's a huge challenge to see how much the culture did change, and it wasn't just based on just a few people that were there. Did the culture really change, or can these guys come in and continue?
I think the culture will stay the same, but I think the expectations shouldn't be as high as they're getting acclimated to putting their spin on their systems, right? That's just my personal opinion. I think I think they'll still be a solid team overall, but you're gonna have to let your coordinators coordinate and put their flavor on their schemes and add to that culture.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta let. I would say I have expectations that they, that Dan Campbell took them from 0-6 to winning like however many games after that. You know what I mean? Like, or what was it 0-6, right? Or 0-9 or something weird like that. And
I think it
then
might have been
after that,
worse
they
than
just
that.
started winning.
Because I think that year, if I remember, they tied Pittsburgh as like their first non-loss like that year, if I remember,
Hmm.
because Ben had COVID and Mason Rudolph. So that was that they got a tie. I know they had a close loss to the Vikings at one point, but I'm trying to remember. It might have been 0-9, might have been 0-11, like 1 or something like that.
That's
Yeah.
all right. Dan Skipper will take care of it all. So that's what he does.
Facts.
But moving on to we're gonna save your Green Bay Packers for last.
That's fine.
Go
Yeah.
Pack, go.
We're gonna go Minnesota Vikings, baby. All right, so let's go with the. Hold on. We got stink bugs, man. Do you guys have stink bugs down there?
Nah, I don't know what stink bugs you're talking about.
You don't know what a stink bug is? Flint, do you know what a stink bug
I
is?
do, but I don't have. There's no issues, at least around here.
No.
How
He's
come
not in
everything
this
goes
house.
perfect in C-Dub's room over there? Like I'm over here like
I don't know what to tell you, man.
it's just not fair. It's just not a fair day for me. Okay.
Yeah. What the grass is greenest where you water it.
It's been raining like hell here. All right, so let's go with the GM for the Minnesota Vikings, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah.
Recently extended GM there.
And actually, I have a friend named Mensah.
Cool.
Shout outs to Mensah. Actually, shout outs to Mensah because his dad was the guy that fell down the stairs in Coming to America.
Really?
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact. So we know some people,
Yeah, the more you know.
The more you know. Head coach Kevin O'Connell, offense coordinator Wes Phillips, defensive coordinator Brian Flores, and the special teams coach Matt Daniels. Okay. Punt return, kick return. So kick return is Isaiah Rodgers from Philly and Ty Chandler. And then you got the punt return, Jalen Naylor and Silas Bolden. And you have the kick, the punter or place kicker, Will Richard. And the holder, Ryan Wright, along with the punter, Ryan Wright. So you also have long snapper, Andrew DePola.
There you go.
Did you guys notice that every single one of these, the long snapper, their names are in all caps?
I feel like it picks and chooses which player is in all caps because.
Well, I'm glad it's a long snapper because you're showing a lot of love to him.
Because Dan Skipper was all caps too.
I mean, why wouldn't Dan Skipper be in all caps?
CJ Ham's in all caps too. So there's no rhyme or reason.
Well, he's going ham.
This is just anarchy.
Yeah, this is chaos. You want the chaos. You always want the chaos.
Chaos makes it fun.
Well, speaking of chaos, let's talk about these new people that they signed on defense. That means you. Okay.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, I'm gonna start with the defensive line. My goodness, I get distracted for half a second. And here we go, squirrel. All right, so we get started with their left defensive end. Jonathan Allen came over from Washington. Then you have the fifth rounder Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, Jonathan Harris, and Elijah Williams. Then at nose tackle, we're looking at Harrison Phillips coming over from Buffalo, Taki Taimani, and Travis Bell. And then at the right defensive end, you got Javon Hargrave coming over from San Francisco, Jalen Redmond, Levi Drake Rodriguez, and then Alexander Williams. So I don't know how we feel about the defensive line.
I obviously they got some bodies here for camp bodies, but I like that they have, you know, Jonathan Allen coming from Washington. They kind of lost a couple people there in Washington, like we talked about last week. But on the other hand, I do like these names: Jonathan Allen, Harrison Phillips. You know what I mean? These are guys, and Javon Hargrave. Hargrave coming from a system, but we're not going to mess around type of system over there. So it's going to be fun with Brian Flores to see what he can do with these two new guys, and then signing another defensive end guy, Tyrion, was it Ingram Dawkins in the fifth round there? So
yeah. See, for me, I like the room. I don't know if I love it, and I could be the minority on there, but there's just defensive line just doesn't do it for me for some reason.
I'm more like, not for nothing, I'm more liking their linebackers, to be honest, if anything. And it's because they're the way they put things together. You know what I mean? He shows different schemes and stuff like that. That's what I like about Brian Flores. And so, like, going to your linebackers, it's like, you got Jonathan. The two of these guys came from Houston. Okay, so Jonathan Grenard and then Blake Cashman. You have Ivan Pace Jr., and then you still have Andrew Van Ginkel over there, who actually made a couple. He makes some really, really good plays over there, and I think they're more utilizing that linebacker room than they are that defensive line. So, like, schematically, they put people in place to make plays.
Yeah, obviously they're using it more as edge rushers and whatnot. So
yeah, I see what you mean though. By like, it's not really a sexy defensive line. But Brian Flores, I just think Brian Flores was a linebacker coach at one point, so I think that's kind of where his scheme is. I don't know, falling to, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time they're probably going to play two defensive linemen. Just now, who those are going to be? Like, I think most people know what Phillips is at this point. Like, mostly just a run stuffer.
Yeah.
And then Allen, I mean, he didn't play a whole lot last year, so who know? You don't really know if you're getting old Jonathan Allen or what level you get in there. And even Hargrave, I mean, like, he's been up and down the last few years. Obviously, the 49ers paid him a lot of money, and he didn't last that long there. So I could see your viewpoint. I don't really love the depth either. Like, obviously the 5th round pick, who knows?
Yeah.
But again, they're going to play a lot of, they're going to have maybe just two of them on the field, and then they're going to have the outside linebackers as their edge rushers. And they actually have depth there with Dallas Turner as a backup and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the linebacking group I like a lot. But yeah, there's just so much unknown, and we don't know what type of players these guys are coming back from the defensive line. So, but yeah, I'm with you guys.
Speaking of, Dallas Turner is right behind Andrew Van Ginkel over there, and remember he was that first round draft pick in 24.
Just last year.
Whom actually I surprisingly know his cousin.
Okay, cool.
In Michigan, so the more you know. Didn't know I knew.
Well,
but now we know.
All right. Well, since you know his cousin, you can go through the rest of the depth of the linebacker.
Sure, why not? He's friends with everybody. So we'll go with Tyler Beatty. Batty? Let's go with Beatty.
Let's go Batty.
Batty? Okay. Yeah, these are definitely some camp guys. Matt Harmon, Ambry Thomas, Zamiah Vaughn, Michael Powell, Jay Ward. No, those are safeties, but that's okay.
Yeah, I was like, where'd you go?
Yeah, I kind of just went down and around, but Austin Keys, Brian Asamoah, and Chaz Chambliss.
Chaz Chambliss was actually my assignment last year for Phil Savage's school.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
full circle, baby.
Yep.
And then you got Gabriel Murphy, Bo Richer, and then 6th round pick in Kobe King. And you come back around. They got more than enough depth to rotate these guys if they need to use them on outside, inside, whatever it might be. So, but with that, that they have more than enough tools to make some things happen, and see how it goes. So with that, do you want to go with the takeover on the cornerbacks?
Let's do it. So we got Isaiah Rogers coming over from Philadelphia. Dwight McLaughlin behind him, Ambry Thomas, and then Zamaya Vaughn at that left corner spot. At right corner, you got Mekhi Blackman, Jeff Okuda coming over from Houston, Khalif Halsey, and Keenan Garber, the other corners. The nickel, you got Byron Murphy Jr. coming over from Arizona, Taveri Thomas coming over from Tampa, and then Reddy Stewart. So, pretty decent cornerback room. I think it's got some upside there. But the safeties, you got Joshua Metellus, Jay Ward, Michael Powell. And then you have the longtime Minnesota Viking Harrison Smith. Then you got Theo Jackson and Bubba Bolden rounding out the safeties. I believe, wasn't he in like Tennessee last year? Where did Bubba? He started out somewhere.
Seattle,
and then Cleveland. Okay.
Seattle, Cleveland, Minnesota.
But yeah, I think it's pretty decent, pretty solid secondary. A little bit older in the safety room, but I think you got some ballers out there.
All right, let's take it over to the offensive side of the ball. Flint, you want to carry us over there, bud?
Yeah, I'll start at the receivers. Obviously, Justin Jefferson. Don't need to really say anything about him. One of the best in the game, if not the best.
But doesn't he have to do something with the Jets or something?
What, Justin Jefferson?
I think wasn't it his nickname's like what, Jay Jettas?
Oh.
I don't know.
Is it?
I don't know. I feel like it is. Maybe, I don't know.
Jay Jettas.
Maybe I'm just making stuff up here. I don't know.
Maybe. I will say this: there's a lot of J's in this wide receiver room.
Yeah, because you got Jordan Addison, and you got Jalen Naylor.
You got Tim Jones. You got Lucky Jackson. You got Juwan Jones. Or Deshaun
Jones, yeah.
Yeah, dude, you got a lot of J's in here. I like it.
Can we say Jordan Addison?
I didn't mean it to interrupt. Go shoot the J.
No, it's fine. I don't know if you want me to go through them or.
Go ahead. We get distracted easily. My bad.
I know they drafted Ty Felton, and then they got Rondell Moore. Was on the Falcons last year, drafted by the Cardinals, and they had Tim Jones and I think it's Tyre Thomas, Lucky Jackson, Sean Jones, Silas Bolden, Miles Price, and Robert Lewis. I mean, like, obviously the number one's very good, and I like their number two for his role. Like, I don't think Jordan Addison's number one at this point, but for a number two receiver, that he's probably above average for a number two receiver. Yeah. And Naylor he had a solid year as their three. But besides that, Ty Felton's more of a speed guy. Like, we'll see what he is, if he's a deep threat or not. And Rondell Moore, I mean, I guess coming out, you thought maybe he's a gadget slot receiver, but like, other than that, I don't really love their depth. Like, I don't know if Rondell Moore can even really, play well. He's not probably going to play much, but like, I really only trust three of these receivers at this point that are proven. So
I can see that.
Concerns with with the Vikings receiver room, but they're pretty good. Top end receivers, but besides that, not a whole lot.
Yeah. Going into the offensive line, they got Christian Darrisaw for left tackle with his backup Justin. Was it Skule or just School? Yeah, and he was picked up from Tampa, which they had a pretty good run game over there. So whether he's probably going to stick around just as a backup, and that's fine. But you got Leroy Watson the fourth, and then you got a first round draft pick in your left guard, Donovan Jackson. Blake Brandel behind him. It was drafted in the 6th round in 2020, and then Joe Huber, who like another body guy, and then you got your center. Your center and your right guard. So the center is Ryan Kelly from Indianapolis, and then Will Fries, your right guard from Indianapolis. So I think this was a really, really good pickups for them. If they can gain chemistry quickly with Brian O'Neill on that right tackle side, and Ryan Kelly can
create chemistry with the new kid Donovan Jackson. And if they can get chemistry very, very quickly here, I think this could actually turn out to be right where they left off. It's going to be a little bit more difficult, kind of trying to start something with a brand new quarterback who he has no games under his belt because of the injury that he had last year. But do you want to talk about the quarterback over there, C-Dub?
Sure. Yeah, you got second-year player JJ McCarthy, national championship winner, dealt with a meniscus injury last year, missed all of his rookie season. So I think you have a lot of projection with him. We know what type of coach that they have over there in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, who really helped Sam Darnold take that leap. So you would assume JJ McCarthy's in great hands, but again, he's an unknown. But I think he should perform this year. We'll see. They also made a trade for Sam Howell to be the backup over there. They also have Brett Ripon and Max Brosmer in the quarterback room. So, pretty, I guess, kind of exciting quarterback room. We'll see. In terms of the running backs, you have Aaron Jones Sr. Coming back. And then you also made a trade for Jordan Mason from San Francisco, who took over for Christian McCaffrey when he dealt with the Achilles tendonitis. You also have Ty Chandler, Xavier Scott, Trey Stewart, and then fullbacks CJ Ham to round out that backfield. So pretty solid backfield. For me personally, I feel like they're going to lean more on the run game, which is another reason why they brought Ryan Kelly and Will Fries over to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Just because you want to protect your young quarterback. He didn't throw a lot in college, so you want to lean on that run game, do a lot of play action passes off that. So that's Minnesota.
Yeah, it is Minnesota. We talked about. Yeah. Talked about how heavy their offense was last year, and everything looked great, and I look at this quarterback room and having Sam Howell in there has the head coach Kevin, was it O'Connell?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah. Has O'Connell, is he the new quarterback whisperer here? Can he, if something happens to JJ McCarthy, do you guys have faith that Sam Howell can come in with the right coaching with Josh McCown and O'Connell here and deliver some strikes? Like, he had Sam Darnold come in when he was just supposed to be a one year deal thing, and he comes in and he absolutely destroys it. Like, he takes team by team apart. And I remember being on a podcast saying that, yeah, this is just going to be a rebuild for the Vikings. They have Sam Darnold. They don't really have anybody else. This is, when McCarthy got hurt, and we had them coming in last place in this division, and damn it if they didn't go 14-2.
Did they go 14-2?
3, but yeah.
14-3.
Okay,
yeah.
I was like, I think that math is a math, but I don't know. I was a Sam Howell fan coming out. I think the talent gap between Sam Darnold and Sam Howell, there's a pretty big gap there. But I do think Sam Howell can play. So if any coach
from one
get it out of him, I think it's
from
him.
when until when though?
From
You know what I mean? Like,
when.
at what point did you see Sam Darnold start doing things good before he went to the Vikings?
Well, I think just them both coming out as prospects. I think Sam Darnold was a better prospect than Sam Howell.
I think
that's personal view. That's personal.
I'm gonna say this now. I think if Sam Howell gets a chance, he's gonna light it up. I really do. Like, if JJ McCarthy goes down, something happens to him, or if Sam Howell has to come in, I think Sam Howell is gonna deliver with this coaching staff around him.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same guy that started games in Washington where they had the number one offense for at least for a few weeks. So I think he's got the talent. It just is he going to have the team around him, and is the coach going to put him in the right positions to it? So I think you're probably right. I could definitely see him having some success there.
And I think when he was in Washington, right, not so much Seattle, but when Sam Howell was in Washington, they were always playing catch up. You know what I mean? Like, they always had to throw the ball. So he had a lot of throws under him, a lot of attempts
So he's seen a lot of different looks. You know,
And he took an ungodly amount of sacks there too. I don't think that.
Yeah, I mean,
line
they had
was
no
good at all.
Yeah, so I mean, I think maybe hopefully I know this is a lot of talk about Sam Howell, and everybody's kind of like, why are you talking about Sam Howell so much? But I really do believe that
we're pro Sam Howell. Okay.
Yeah.
He's Baker with a couple biscuits.
There you go, baby. But let's go to the main.
Well, hold on, Flint. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I think I'd lean more to C-Dub. Like, if Sam Howell had to play, obviously that's a bad scenario for the Vikings because this year is about J.J. McCarthy. But
yeah,
to play, I'm expecting more Nick Mullins. That's my expectation because that's at least a guy I think he's more comparable with that played with this team, and they won games with Nick Mullins. Like I expect a lot of yards and maybe a lot of scoring, but he has a turnover history, and I don't know if he can get that out of him. But I'm not completely writing him off, but I mean it's been 2 teams, and I don't even know what year is it, 4 maybe. I could be wrong, but
sure. I think he came out the Malik Willis year.
Yeah, so it should be year 4 then. I think
22.
Yeah, because I think it was 2 years Washington with Seattle, and this year, if I'm correct.
Yep.
So,
the NFL experience 4, year 4.
The NFL experience.
That's just my thoughts. I mean,
and that's the greatest part about this is you can.
Yeah, we can all gang up on Dirty and just tell him how wrong he is.
It's all right.
That's how we do.
Let me tell you, man, I have some wild takes that people do not like, and that is okay.
Yeah, I think we've all had our fair share of misses, so we'll just see how the season plays out.
We're gonna have a ton of misses, and that's the whole thing with football. Nobody's ever always gonna be right. So, let's go to the one and only Green Bay Packers, baby.
Go Pack, go!
I'm gonna let you run through this as much as you can run through this, Flint, because this is the opportunity to go through the depth chart and I have a couple questions for you of what you feel for some of these sightings too.
Okay, that sounds good. Do you want me to start with the defense like we have been doing?
You want to start with the coaching staff real quick?
Okay. Obviously, they have Matt LaFleur, who's been there since 2019. Mm-hmm. They've had Brian Gugas as their GM since 2018. And I can't read yours. Was the special teams coordinator? Oh, I'm sorry, it's Bisaccia.
Yeah. Bisaccia, it was a fun fact. A few years ago, when Brian and I were at Indianapolis, we actually saw him holding a meeting at Hooters in Indianapolis.
True story.
Yeah, so he's in one of the corner booths. I think it was a player, and he was interviewing him in a booth back at Hooters. So
yeah, he was. Let me tell you something. We've seen a lot of things at Hooters in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's not what you think either.
No, it's not. Okay, we've seen. Who else did we see there?
We saw Xavier Worthy. Yeah, right after he broke the record. Yeah.
We continue just to see people there each time we go there, and the weird thing is, we go there at the most random times, don't we?
Yeah.
It's never just like when everybody else is going there. We'll go there at like, hey, you want to go there at like 11 a.m. or 12 or something weird like that. Or
I don't think we've ever been there at 11, but yeah, it's like right before we go to the airport to get on a flight or something. It's like,
yeah. Well, we tried to get into the we couldn't get my book bag inside, and then we had to take the walk all the way over there. Yeah. There was like nobody there, but Xavier Worthy had already done his thing, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we meet some interesting folks.
We certainly do.
Yeah, it's weird, but continue. My apologies.
Yeah, continue. I guess Stenovich is the offense coordinator, and then they have Halfley as the defensive coordinator. You want my thoughts on those, or just?
Yeah, I don't know too much about the coaching staff outside of LaFleur, so.
Yeah, well, I'll just start with LaFleur. He's the head coach. I really like him. I know he's winning percentage. I don't know, that might be a little inflated. I know it's probably third, an active winning percentage right now. And I think he's done a good job, taking over McCarthy. Obviously, the playoff success is not really there. And you can tie that to a bunch of different reasons. But I think his offense, I really like it. For offense coordinator, play callers. Like maybe you say he's behind Shanahan and McVay or people like that, but I don't think he's far behind them. And he runs a similar system, obviously, to those guys.
Yeah, he comes from Century, right?
Yeah. So, like, Halfley was 1 year, and I think for most fans, I think they like his approach. It's way different than the last, however, 10 years or so, at least after Capers, even probably Capers you can include in there. But I like he's more like at least the prior with Jim Barry, it was a lot of like, cover 4 or it's a lot of like soft zone, and they give up the short, the dink and dunk kind of passes and hope, make a mistake. And I know a lot of those coaches kind of like are out of the league. I know Fangio is obviously the famous one. He's still in. And there's not a lot of disciples under him. Obviously, Staley with the Saints, but but yeah, I really like Halfley's approach. And then Senovich, it's hard to say what he exactly does. So like I don't necessarily hate or love him, but I know he's like picked the starting 5 offensive line. I know he has some role in that. I know some Packers fans have criticized who he put out there in the playoffs for the end of the Rodgers era in the playoffs, because they really had a trickle down effect when Bakhtiari got hurt late in 2020.
Yeah,
and they started guys and signed guys, and it was just questionable. Like Billy Turner starting at left tackle for a playoff game when he never played that, and he was hurt. And then they benched Nyman, and there's other factors. He signed. I know Valdir was like he didn't play, but like they signed him late in that season. But ultimately, their offensive line has struggled in those games overall. I think Rodgers got sacked in the 2 playoff losses in 2020 and 2021 like 9 times. In those losses, they just struggled, and that could be just bad luck. Bakhtiari getting hurt, but but ultimately, he's been pretty good at developing linemen. Like there's some guys that were mid late round picks, like Sean Ryan, was solid last year. There's a number of guys. Josh Myers, I know he's on the Jets now. He was a 2nd round pick. I think most people, his hate for Josh Myers, most of the hate was him because I think he got picked in front of Creed Humphrey like a pick before, which it was people were criticizing that at the time too. But like ultimately, like he's done solid with the offensive line. I know we're talking about a lot. I'm talking a lot about him, but
yeah, good.
It's hard to say what he exactly controls. It's the same thing when they had Nathaniel Hackett. Like I think he did like red zone or whatever. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of the LaFleur.
Yeah.
But he has obviously guys underneath him. I just don't know what the positional coaches do or exactly control. That's all I'm saying, really.
Yeah, it's almost like Matt LaFleur kind of has his hands really in that offense. You know what I mean? Like you could tell that he's the play caller. Really, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and like Stanovich was offensive line coach, and he got promoted when Hackett left, and you really just don't know. There hasn't been like a drop off or anything. Like obviously the quarterback's not winning MVPs, but
yeah,
Jordan Love's different than Rodgers, so like, yeah. So you want to start with the defense now?
You want to start with special teams real quick? We'll knock those guys out.
Sure. I mean, obviously Nixon is the returner. He's been the returner the last few years. He was actually all pro, but last year he struggled a bit. And I don't know, that's new kickoff rules. I also know he's talked to the media or had, not press conference, but like when people come to those locker room reporters and stuff, he's kind of like hates the new rules, I guess, because I don't know if it limits him, but he just didn't have a good year. And I'm sure that frustrated him because he was all pro back-to-back years before that. And then Jaden Reed was the punt returner. I would say Nixon's probably the returner, but I wouldn't say he's locked into that. I know the depth chart, has him there.
Yeah.
Like he's probably it, but I wouldn't say that's a lock. And then Reed's the punt returner, but he doesn't always do all the punt returning duties. And McManus, they signed middle of last year, and he was really good for them. Obviously, he was a good kicker even before this. Obviously, I know he had off the field stuff that kind of is why he's bounced around a little bit the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And then the punter, Daniel Whalen, like I think he's fine. Like I don't really have anything too much to say. Like he's not bad, he's not great.
Yeah.
He's fine. And then long snappers, Matt Orzak. And again, can't really say anything bad or good about him.
No, we can always say good
No.
things about long snappers.
That's all there is good things for long snappers.
Yeah, Matt Orzak. Yeah, I mean, who has a name like Orzak?
Matt does.
Matt does. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go up to. What do you want to do first? You want to do offense or defense?
Let's just do defense, like how we've been doing it.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
All right.
So defensive line, they run a 4-3. Luke Van Ness, former first-round pick, with Rashawn Gary, with the other defensive end, former first-round pick. And Kenny Clark, who was a former first-round pick, and same as Devontae Wyatt, their first-round pick. And behind them, these interior defensive linemen have Carl Brooks, who's played a lot, and Colby Wooten. They've also Warren Brinson, and these other guys are probably more camp bodies, but you have Nazir Stackhouse and James Esther and Nesta Jane Silvera. And then behind the defensive end, you have Baron Sorrell, who they drafted this year. They also have Kingsley Anubari, who's been on the team last few years. Brenton Cox, he's been a guy who's played a few snaps, but mostly, hasn't played a lot. Colin Oliver, they drafted this year. Aaron Mosby, and they have Deslin Alexandra. So that's their defensive line. I say overall, they haven't lived up to, at least the starters haven't lived up to the expectation of first rounders. Rashawn Gary has, and Kenny Clark over his career. But just if we want to talk about just last year, like Kenny Clark, I know came out reports, I think this week, where he had a toe injury week 1 in the Brazil game against the Eagles. So he had like a very average year. Like it's probably, well, for him, it's probably below average, but just for a defensive lineman, I think it was very average.
Yeah.
So maybe he bounces back. It's hard to really say. And Wyatt's kind of been improving slowly. I mean, as a Packers fan, like I hope he takes a step, and I think this could be the year he takes a step. Like I have more faith in him than taking a step, maybe than Lucas Van Ness. But that's, I'm just kind of projecting. I think Wyatt has the ability to be a pretty good starter. And Van Ness, he's kind of been somewhat disappointing. Like he's solid, but he hasn't lived up to the 13th pick. He's been around like middle of the road and like 5-6 sacks. Like that's the kind of guy, and he's starting. Obviously, they're rotating a lot, and he has the versatility. Like he can play inside and outside. But overall, that's why they probably drafted Baron Sorrell in the 4th round, because he's usually not their type in Green Bay. They haven't drafted a lot of the smaller outside linebacker defensive ends, and he's one of them. So it's a possibility. I don't know if it's going to be first year, but he's more of the pass rusher on those later downs. And Angabar, he's actually in his snaps, like he's shown some like promise, but at this point he might be just what he is. And I know he had an injury, recently. So but overall, where they got him, I think it was like a 5th rounder. He's been a solid rotational guy. And then Gary, he was, in the running. I think he was 2nd in MVP, Defensive Player of the Year voting when he got hurt in 22.
Okay.
Since then, he's kind of dropped off a little bit. Like in that year, if I remember, I know this is a little off topic, but he was averaging a sack per game. You take out the 2 penalties that nullified sacks for him that year, and then he got hurt against Detroit in Detroit. So I don't know if he's ever recovered to being elite, top end defensive end. He's still been pretty good. So I'm not saying he's a bad player or anything. He's just he was in that close to getting the Micah Parsons range. He was dominant that year, and then he got hurt, and he's been a really good player for him. I just think he's lost some of the pass rush. He's still good against the run stuff. So that's just the defensive line room. Moving on, you got Quay Walker. Edgerrin Cooper, Isaiah McDuffie are their three linebackers. It's going to be mostly Cooper and Walker. They got Isaiah Simmons, former first-round pick, who they signed in the last couple of months, and they Christian Welsh and Tyron Hopper they drafted last year. Like Cooper was really good, and he's only started like 4 games last year, played like 14. I wish they played him more, honestly. Like he showed like star potential, and I really liked him coming out. And funny enough, last year when we did our mock draft, I had him go in the second round to the Packers, and he went there.
Yeah.
So
he's the A&M kid, right?
Just jumped up. What did you say?
You don't need that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's he's the A&M kid, right?
Yeah.
He played Texas A&M.
So like he had 3.5 sacks in his. I mean, he played a good amount of snaps, but like I think he's gonna be a great blitzing linebacker, and he can cover too. Like I think he's the number one linebacker on this team, and Quay Walker, I would guess, is his last year, but he's got better and better. Obviously, I think most people were kind of shocked where he got picked 22, I believe, in that draft. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like he was kind of overdrafted. Like if you think him as a third rounder, he's been fine, but because he's 22nd pick,
throw that expectations on him. He's not really living up to it. I got you.
Yeah, and McDuffie, he's fine as a third linebacker. Like he'll play a little bit. Then you have Isaiah Simmons, who I mean he's probably coming in. I don't know if they even keep him and use him. Like he's probably more of a blitzer. I know he's kind of like a positionless player where it's hard to know where like in the league over his career, like where he should be as a linebacker or safety or and obviously he's a hard time. Like I just don't know if he's good at really anything. Like maybe his best thing is blitzing. I don't know. Again, if he makes his team, that's I would assume his role if they, again use him. And these other guys like Hopper special teams, and same thing for Welsh. So the corners are Jair Alexander, Keyshawn Nixon, and Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs obviously was a former Raider who they signed. And then Kerrigan Valentine is depth, but he's been a starter and he's played a lot for them the last few years. You also have Javon Bullard, who's a safety nickel kind of hybrid, who was from Georgia last year. They drafted. You also have Michael Robinson, Isaiah Dunn, Kalen King was a 7th rounder from Penn State. You have Tyron Herring, Junior Gregory, and Kamal Haddon. That's their corner room. And then safeties is Evan Williams, Xavier McKinney are their starters. They have Kayin, Aladapo, I think that's how you say it. Mm-hmm. And then Zane Anderson, Omar Brown, and Kaiser Brown, and Jonathan Baldwin. And like corner-wise, like on paper, I think it looks pretty good. I don't know how you guys feel.
It looks pretty good, actually. I'm a fan of not for nothing. I'm a big fan of Jair Alexander. He's an absolute stud. He really is.
Yeah, especially when he's healthy. Like he can erase that half of the field. So I think your secondary looks great.
Yeah, and that's the problem, I guess. Kind of you were mentioning, like they just haven't been on at least Alexander for the most part hasn't been on the field.
Yeah.
And I know there's been trade rumors and all that other speculation, contract stuff.
Do you think he stays on the team?
Yeah, at this point, I think he does. But I'm not like it's like kind of Jalen Ramsey. I think Jalen Ramsey though is probably more likely out of just a guy who's been in the trade rumor or trade market as a corner. But I think he stays on the team. But again, he has to stay healthy, and they're paying him a lot, and it's weird for him. Like I know I was going in depth with the defensive ends and stuff. Like he was like, I thought he should have been first team All-Pro in 2020. I think Jalen Ramsey and there was one other corner, but they were first team that year, and he got second team, I think. But like that year, like he gave up, I think 60 or so yards in the first game against Adam Thielen and a touchdown, and then the rest of the year, I think it was 130 yards total. Like he was dominant that year. Even in the playoffs, he gave up like one catch, -4 yards, and had 2 interceptions in the championship game against the Bucs. Like he was dominant that year. And then he gets hurt week 4 the following year against Pittsburgh. And his plays like kind of declined ever since. He's still really good. Like don't take me wrong there.
So our lads doesn't even have his right picture on there. Fun fact.
Who doesn't?
The website. Like go on and click on him. Click on Jairi Alexander. Like, that's not him.
Not him.
That is not him.
Not him. That's not him.
That's great. That is hilarious.
I'm trying to think.
I wonder if he knows that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, so like if he's even like a top 15 corner, top 20, with Hobbs is playing their nickel probably, and Keyshawn Nixon, he's been pretty good on the outside. He just hasn't played it a lot. So like I don't want to like just assume like he's going to be great out there because he's mostly been the slot corner for them. And then with the Raiders, he didn't play a lot. It's mostly special teams. Bisaccia had a connection to him, so I think that's why he came to Green Bay, and then he was the returner obviously because he had that connection.
Yeah.
But like if they're playing, and even was Valentine, like he's been starting a lot of games and played, so like they're comfortable with him if he has to play. But there is obviously a drop off from, Alexander or the Valentine or whoever you want to put out there. And Javon Bullard, I was hoping, more or like a better year from him as a third rounder, I believe he was. So I mean, he's a high, somewhat high day 2 pick. So like there's still like potential and he can be good. He was obviously had a really good career in Georgia, but he wasn't. Surprisingly enough, like Evan Williams outplayed him at safety, and so that's why I think Bullard's more a corner now because Evan Williams has kind of like solidified himself as the other safety with Xavier McKinney, and obviously McKinney had a pretty good year. I know statistically he had second most picks or something like that.
Yeah, he crushed it.
Yeah, and they don't have a lot of depth behind them because like Anderson and these other guys, they're mostly special teams. So like obviously Bullard could be that third safety but again, that's the questions with their depth right now. In the secondary, you're relying kind of on Alexander to be healthy and be good.
Yeah.
And the Hobbs, they paid a lot, and Keyshawn Nixon, like he hasn't played much outside, and I think he's more of a borderline starter, but he's played a lot of football for them, and that's that. I wish they had someone, a little bit better, but I like their 4 corners. Like, don't get me wrong, but that's just the concerns.
You just want them to stay healthy and try to level up their play this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on offense, obviously, we'll start with Jordan Love as their quarterback. Malik Willis is the backup. They have Sean Clifford, who is a Penn State quarterback. He's been on the team now. I think it's his 3rd year. And then I don't know if I can. I know he's a CFL guy, Taylor Elgersma. I don't know.
Elgersma, yeah.
Yeah. So I personally hadn't watched any CFL to know how good. I haven't seen stats, but like it's CFL, so I don't know much about him. I'm not that high on Clifford. I know he was. Most people project him as like an undrafted guy, and he got picked in the 5th round. Again, it's a 5th rounder, day 3 pick.
Yeah, it's okay to take a swing at the bat.
Yeah, he's been on the team. Like he was their backup until they traded for Malik Willis last year. Malik Willis, obviously, he played pretty good in the 2 starts he had.
Yeah.
And Jordan Love, I think he's probably better than last year. I think he was dealing with a lot of injuries, and obviously he had some bad circumstances with drops. And I guess that leads into the receiving core. They have Golden and Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, Savion Williams, and McCole Hardman, Bo Melton, Malik Heath, Julian Hicks, Cornelius Johnson, and Sam Brown Jr. Like obviously they have a lot of guys, and a lot of guys that played.
Yeah.
It's definitely a younger group. It's been a younger
Who's
group.
the odd man out over here?
Say again?
Who's the odd man out for these wide receivers in the Green Bay, man? I mean, we've heard a lot of rumors about, Romeo Dobbs possibly getting traded, or Jaden Reed asking if, his role was solidified. Like, what, Dontavian Wicks, like, what's going on with that? Like, who do you think the odd man out is here, or do you think they're just going to be a really good competition?
Yeah, I mean, that's if there is an odd man. Like, they can obviously keep like 6, maybe 7, and Christian Watson's probably on IR beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So if you want to take him, like him out of the equation, but if a guy's likely to get traded, it's probably Dobbs or Wicks. Again, I'm not sure. Like, again, I know Aaron Rodgers, Steelers connection. Steelers looking at so many different players in trades.
So if you were the GM and you were running the Packers and you couldn't keep all these guys, who would be your choice to ship out?
Probably Dobbs. Again, I don't know the value again in return, because he obviously had concussion issues last year, and he's on his last year of his deal. And then, like, if it wasn't him, again, I think I would do Dobbs, but I can understand Wicks. The problem is Wicks had so many drops last year. Like, I think he had a 19% drop rate on his targets or something like that.
He's got a great talent. He just doesn't have good hands.
I just wouldn't sell him low, I guess.
Yeah.
And because he has multiple years on his deal, that's just my thinking between those guys. And
I love Savion Williams. I got to watch a lot of TCU games last year. I love him, man. He's a great athlete, and I think he's just going to – sky's the limit for this kid.
Yeah, I mean, I can see his talent. I mean, again, I don't know his role this year. Like, he could be a special teams return guy, instead of Keyshawn. He could be Cole Hardman. And obviously where he plays special team. Golden, I would assume he could do it. I don't think he will, but like Savion, like this year, I think he's more of a gadget guy, I would guess.
For sure, yeah. I mean, that's what his role was at TCU too.
Yeah.
I think Jack Besh took most of the targets, him and JP Richardson. So
they just have so many receivers and even running backs, I think. I just don't know how much of a role on offense, at least off the bat, he has.
Yeah.
And then get into the further depth, like Ozzie Bo Melton's played. He was drafted by Seattle, I think, 7th round from Rutgers. Malik Heath, he's been more of a blocking. He's kind of replaced Alan Lazard for this offense since he left. But again, I don't know how, that's 9 guys if you just cut it off out of those. Yeah. I guess Harmon's not a guarantee. He's on a 1-year deal. But I think because they signed him, I would assume he's going to make it. Just like they had all these receivers already before they drafted Golden and Savion. So I just assume Harmon might have a role in special teams at least. And again, the room's like deep and has a lot of depth. Obviously, like the number 1 is maybe like Reed. I don't know if he's normally a number 1 in most teams. If you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And like Golden has potential, you could say. And then obviously like Christian Watson, you could say, has the potential, but it's been mostly injuries, and again, he's injured. And Romeo Dobbs, like, he's played as the number 1 for this team a little bit, but he has concussion issues. Again, it's last year of his deal. We'll see if he gets traded or not, but that's the receiver room. Tight ends, it's Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, Ben Sims, John Fitzpatrick. Like, overall, I think this is a solid group. It's the same guys pretty much, at least the last year that they had.
Yeah.
And Musgrave's probably the disappointment, obviously being, I think, a 3rd rounder. He just didn't play a lot of football in college, and then he's been hurt a lot.
He had a big major back injury in college, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so like, I can't remember. He might only have like 600 yards in college or something. I could be wrong on that. Like, he just didn't play a lot. He's a raw prospect. Like, you would hope he'd be a receiving tight end, but I just don't know how much they trust him. And then Kraft there is kind of, he's not as athletic as Musgrave, but they trust him more. He can block. I guess Musgrave, he can block a little bit, but he hasn't played a lot, and he hasn't been on the field a lot. So I think it's Kraft is the number 1 tight end. Fitzpatrick and Ben Sims are blocking tight ends. Like, I doubt they catch 10 passes this year, either of them.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah. I mean, well, the other guys they've had in the past, like Mercedes Lewis, has had the same kind of role as these guys.
Yeah.
Mercedes a little bit probably better blocker, and more of a leadership presence, but that's kind of the room. I wouldn't say it's great, but Kraft, his ability to get screens, and they use him down the seam, so like he does solid. He'll have a good amount of touchdowns, I would guess.
And he's a favorite target for Jordan Love, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say who their favorite is, just how they play. Like, you could say you could say it's Dobbs. Like going in last year, the whole offseason, a lot of the players kept saying Dobbs is number one for sure. I know he missed games. I think he didn't show up for practice. I can't remember the reason, but he kind of like held out in the middle of the year, weirdly enough, and then finally showed up. So, and then the concussions and all that.
Sounds like dirty.
So like both of them, I think Reed and Dobbs are around the same amount of catches. And well, obviously Wicks had a lot of targets, but didn't have a lot of catches with it.
Yeah, it wasn't converting them.
Yeah. So I think I talked enough about the receiver. That's just my view on it. And the offensive line, you have Rasheed Walker. I think he was a Penn State 7th-round pick a few years ago. Got Aaron Banks from the 49ers. Got Elgin Jenkins now moving to center. You had Sean Ryan at right guard, which he played last year, and Zach Tom at right tackle.
Never trust a man with two first names.
Yeah, and then Anthony Belton, which oddly enough, I think I had him in the mock draft as well.
Hey, there you go. You know your team.
To the Packers, but he went much earlier than I thought. I think he was a 2nd-round pick, which, I mean, a little rich for me, but moving on, they had Kadeem Telford, Jacob Monk, who's played a little bit. Yeah, Jordan Morgan, 1st-round pick 2 years ago. Brand Banks, Travis Glover, he played a few snaps. Tyler Cooper, Trey Hill, Donovan Jennings. So that's the group. I mean, like, I really love Elgin Jenkins. Ever since they drafted in the 2nd round, I think he was Mississippi State, if I remember.
Yep, you're right.
He's been playing mostly guard, but like he could play any position really on their team.
Has he played snaps at almost every position?
Yeah, I think he has.
Wow.
But this is his first year as the center. At least that's the how people were practicing.
Yeah.
And then Zach Tom has been like, if there wasn't guys like Lane Johnson or Panay Sewell in the league, like he probably get more recognition as a right tackle. Like he's I would say he's probably in the top 5. He's just not talked about.
Yeah.
And he has versatility to play probably any of the positions, to be honest.
Is this the last year of his deal?
I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, because he was a rookie when Aaron Rodgers was last year in Green Bay. So, yeah, it was his 4th year. Aaron Banks, obviously, got from the 49ers. Like, I think he's a slightly above average guard. Obviously, they paid him a ton, but that's just free agency.
Yeah.
You know how it goes. Sean Ryan was a right guard. He had, like, I'm trying to remember his rookie year, but, like, he had some, like, off the field thing. So he kind of, like, his rookie year was kind of like you can wipe it away. Then he didn't really play and didn't practice a ton. But I guess surprisingly now he's a starting guard for the 2nd year. And he played, about average, maybe a little bit above it last year. Rasheed Walker is their starting left tackle. Like, if he's your worst offensive lineman, I think that's probably fine. And that's kind of where he is on this team. It's him or probably Sean Ryan. And I think they're fine as, your worst 4 or 5 offensive linemen. Like, they're starters in this league. I just don't know if they're, like, great or good.
Yeah. And overall, you got some depth on the offensive line, too, in case you need to move some pieces around.
Like, Anthony Bell, I know he's practiced at guard, too. I don't know his role exactly is, this year, but he has versatility. Jordan Morgan's a 1st-round pick.
He's also got tackle and guard flexibility, too, right?
Yeah, he does. Obviously, he's like the backup guard, but he also could be the backup swing tackle. It's tough. He didn't play a ton, and it wasn't like great either. So I don't know. Like, it's really early. It's 1 year in.
Yeah.
But like, it hasn't looked promising, unfortunately. Just my view on it. Doesn't mean it won't turn around. Or again, the other issue is where is he playing right now? Like, I guess in a hope when they draft in the first round, he's probably your right guard right now. If you knew you were getting Aaron Banks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But right now he's behind Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan played fine. So, and Jacob Monk and some of the, obviously they had Myers last year also in this rotation, but they kind of played mostly honestly in the playoffs. If you remember, they had a bunch of offensive line receiver injuries at the very end. Moving on to the running back, it's Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, Emmanuel Wilson, and Chris Brooks. And I'm not sure Marshawn Lloyd is going to be the second running back. I know they have it.
Didn't he get hurt again?
I don't know if he did. I know he was hurt last year pretty much. And he didn't really,
I heard there was a setback in his rehab. I mean, nothing crazy, but I just heard there was a setback.
I think I heard that. I'm not, again, concerned. But, like, again, he was, I think, a third rounder. And, again, they didn't really get anything out of him first year.
Mm-hmm.
And they were fine. Obviously, Jacobs was one of the top backs in the league. And Emmanuel Wilson was a solid number 2. Like, they're kind of like both like sledgehammers, like power backs. And kind of fit their team. And Chris Brooks, I think he was a Dolphin before this. And he had some power into his game. So, like, Lloyd's a different type of back where you would hope if Jacobs is not on the field, he's like the receiving back. But it's hard to say because I just haven't seen a ton of him. I've seen his USC, tape. But that's kind of where I'm at. With
I wonder if Savion could potentially get some carries too, because he played some running back and some wildcat quarterback at TCU, so it'd be another option in the run game.
Yeah, that's another guy. And then, well, I guess we'll see. I think they like obviously Jacobs for sure. I think they even like Wilson and Brooks, and I would think they'll make the team. But even if they cut Brooks, they'd probably be a practice squad. I don't know if anyone's picking up Chris Brooks, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you guys have any questions.
No, I mean, it's we still got cuts coming, right, and everything, and everything's starting right now. Where everybody's going into OTAs. It's not voluntary anymore. Everybody has to report to camp very soon, and we are now post June 1st, so people have gotten more of their money back in their cap spaces, and people are cut. People are there's these little injuries are getting piled on, and now you have to find out who's going to stay healthy throughout camp because you can't make the club in the tub, right?
It's facts.
So it's going to be interesting to say the least, with a lot of different coaching opportunities in this division, and who's going to. I don't know. Like the Lions and the Vikings were very, very close. The Bears have a brand new head coach that came from the Lions. You know what I mean? As a great offensive coordinator, and now that's the threat, right? It's like, are the Bears going to come out swinging? Are the Lions going to maintain what they have? Can the Vikings continue to do their offensive of things? And can the Packers still stay as the history Packers? You know what I mean? This is always a very, very intriguing division. And I can't wait to see what it unfolds this year, because I believe that this division can be something not as dynamic as the AFC West, but almost when they face each other, everybody could take a loss from one of their division teams.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talent in this division.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's my personal opinion with that, but we'll see, right? That's all we can do is see what everything brings us after camp. And I mean, guys, what are we talking about? Under 100 days?
Something like that. I mean, it's coming up fast.
Yeah. I cannot wait until everything just starts making its way. Another month, another 30 days, and all of a sudden August comes, and where are we at? Preseason games.
Yep. It's going to be here before we know it.
That's 60 days. That is 60 days away, man. That I cannot wait. I'm absolutely stoked. So, I mean, I don't know what you guys are ready for, but I'm ready for some. I'm ready for the football, baby.
Absolutely. Let's get it.
So, you guys are Packers. Obviously, hit up Flint Given. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, share, comment. Hit 5 stars, swipe up, leave that comment. Spotify, Apple, all of it. It was a great time. Always talk ball with you fellas. Flint, thanks for joining the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Shout out to our sponsors, FGM Label for this beat, Norris Hall for the hot sauce and mead, and we are out. Peace.